It's also been a volatile week for European gas prices after an outage at an offshore Norwegian platform. It disrupted the gas flow to Britain, but the pipeline is due to return to service on Friday. Now, you can see there how futures soared, only very quickly then to return back to earth. Energy set to play a major role in the European elections coming up, and another summer of record-breaking heat could make things worse too. Officials say droughts in southern Europe pose a risk to energy production, transmission and demand. Paolo Gallo is the CEO of Italgas and he joins us now. Paolo, fantastic to have you with us. I want to talk about just briefly what happened this week. We were just showing viewers there the price spike that we saw, and yet I looked at what the average gas storage level is at the moment in Europe, and it's around 70%. That must be
even more.
Near a record for this time of year. So why the nervousness? Help me understand.
Well, I think that the gas market and the gas price is still very volatile. And to me, the reason why we have seen such a surge of price is more due to the speculation activity around that. The fact that we are going back to the normal demonstrate that. Also because there is no fear about any kind of storage. Like you said, the average of European is above 70%. Italy, for example, it is one of the largest country with the largest storage. We are around 75%. That is quite, say, unusual if we go back to the old days. So we should probably get by 90%. That is the target set by the European Commission, probably early summer. So we are very close. So it is not understandable, such a spike in the price, unless you put some speculation below that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're going to hit the European targets well before the deadline that they're expecting.
November,
if you do that.
absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Does that negate some of the concerns, very briefly, about potential extreme temperatures, drought, extra use of air conditioning too over the summer? The message to consumers is sort of don't worry about higher prices.
Well, you know, I think I've seen the move. Let me say the point before about the climate change, and what I'm trying to say is that we need to put in place every technology, every lever that we have in order to reach and to be able to reduce CO2 emission. And I think for a price point of view, I don't see significant problems over the summertime unless there are some speculation around. But to me, more important is that everybody, every company should focus how to decarbonize the consumption, and we should use all the tools or technology or the innovation that we have available in order to get there.
Okay, and that's what you're doing, so that the audience understands. I mean, you control gas infrastructure assets, but you're also diversifying into water assets too, I know, with the hope on and the focus on making them far more efficient and reducing leakage in the same way that you did with gas assets. But what's fascinating to me about your business is how you're sort of digitizing, pivoting and hoping to ensure that not just natural gas can be used in some of this infrastructure and pipeline network, but biomethane and hydrogen in the future. So that goes to your point about the renewable capabilities too. How far away are we from that kind of future where that's what you're predominantly distributing in Italy or Europe?
Yeah, you know, biomethane is a reality now already.
Okay.
We don't wait. We do not have to wait many years to have biomethane available. There are, just to give you an idea, from 2018 to last year, the biomethane plant in Europe doubled.
Wow.
So it's becoming a reality. The view that we have in Italy is that by 2030, biomethane will cover 10% of the need of the Italian in terms of gas. So biomethane is already a reality. What we need to have, like you mentioned, we need to have a fully digitized network to be able to manage different kind of gases. Hydrogen is something that will be available probably by the end of the decade. I'm talking about economic sustainability of the production of hydrogen. And I feel the hydrogen will play in the next decade a huge role, not only as a replacing of natural gas, but more even important as a vector to store the energy. I mean, there is a lot of debate about how to store the energy when there are many renewable going on. I don't think the battery is the only solution. It's probably fine for residential use, but not for huge need. The way to store the energy and to use this energy stored for balancing renewable and the demand of power is through the hydrogen. Hydrogen produced out of renewable. And then you need clever, smart digital infrastructure to handle that.
Oh, very quickly, Paolo, because I want to ask you about the European Central Bank and cutting rates and whether you think that the macro environment requires rates to be cut at this moment. The biomethane, the 10% that you think in 2030 that you'll be providing to Italian customers, would that be at the same price as the natural gas equivalent?
As of today, there are some subsidies to produce biomethane, but by 2030, we think it will be at the same level in terms of price as the natural gas. Remember that is the product of a circular economy. So you don't only produce biomethane, you also capture the CO2, and that CO2 can be used for food industry. You produce fertilizer, and you solve the waste problem. So at the end of the day, if you put these elements into the full equation, at the end of the day, you will have a competitive price also for biomethane. We are not very far now. Imagine by 7 years from now, 6 years from now, it'll be absolutely competitive.
Wow, I love these conversations. It gives me great hope when we report on the bad impacts and the negative impacts on what we're seeing on the climate. To have solutions like this discussed is pretty awesome. Paolo, great to chat to you, sir. Thank you. Paolo Gallo there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia.
Thank you.